Manx Radio's Update with Dave Moore.
The time is 5 o'clock. You're listening to Manx Radio. I am Dave Moore, and this is Update. Welcome to the programme. Half an hour of the latest news in the Isle of Man, plus sport, business, travel updates, along with the newsmakers in person. Coming up, the Isle of Man Medical Society is raising concerns about Manx Care's mandate. The chair of Michael District Commissioners gives his opinion on the introduction of new 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. And the selling of vaping products to those under the age of 18 is also under the spotlight. That's all coming up in the next 30 minutes. But first of all, with the Update News headlines, is Christian Jones. Faster My.
The Isle of Man Medical Society has published its review of Manx Care's mandate, in which it identifies 8 weaknesses but only 3 strengths. The organisation says if the proposed service cuts are rolled out, it could have severe and far-reaching consequences for both patients and the wider well-being of the Manx community. Residents in Kirkmichael don't support the implementation of blanket 20-mile-per-hour speed limits, according to the chair of the District Commissioners.
I had over 300 responses to that straw poll. 67% of people just want the status quo.
Duncan Livingstone there, who claims no consultation has been carried out in respect of government's plans to introduce limits on residential roads island-wide. The head of the Office of Fair Trading thinks the Isle of Man should consider introducing fixed penalty notices to discourage the sale of vaping products to under 18s. Mark Smith told politicians he found the method to be very effective in the past.
It would reduce court time. It would allow interaction between the department to regulate, control and alter bad behaviours.
And a political commentator is raising concerns over a lack of public mandate on major government decisions on the island. Alistair Ramsey says key policies on health, taxation and climate are being set without clear direction from voters. In the latest international news now, and Vladimir Putin has agreed in principle to a US proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. But the Russian president says the exact terms still need to be worked out, adding there are questions with Moscow on the offensive. The UK Prime Minister says scrapping NHS England is expected to free up hundreds of millions of pounds.
I can't, in all honesty, explain to the British people why they should spend their money on 2 layers of bureaucracy.
Sir Keir Starmer says the decision will reduce duplication, with 50% of jobs at both the arm's length body and the Department of Health's NHS staff to go. And the UK's longest indoor ski slope's going to be built in the Welsh Valleys. The centre will include a run that's 424 metres long. Those are the Update News headlines, next at 6.
Thank you, Christian. Looking at the weather, dry with sunny or clear intervals to start, then cloud increasing overnight with a few outbreaks of rain or showers. There's likely to be wintry over the hills, mainly light northerly wind, minimum temperature of 1 degree Celsius. Tomorrow, largely cloudy to start with a few showery outbreaks of rain. Again, this could be wintry over the hills with an ice risk. Then sunny intervals developing, light to moderate northeast wind, a maximum temperature of 10 Celsius. Dry with bright or sunny spells on Saturday, light winds and a maximum temperature of 10 Celsius.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Simply income protection from Kestrel Insurance. A choice of benefits. Simple underwriting and peace of mind with a regular income for up to 2 years if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. Kestrel Insurance is registered with the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock. Often fitted within a week. Furnitureland for 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Making life easier with Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill. Are you looking for a stair lift? Look no further with Which Magazine's #1 recommended stair lifts. Now provided by Manx Mobility. Access BDD stair lifts. Call us today on 200 680. The exclusive Karcher store is open with thousands of products, accessories and parts in stock. For Karcher sales and service, Hersham Electrical, Shipyard Industrial Estate, Ramsey.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
The Isle of Man Medical Society's published its review of the mandate to Manx Care 2025-26, highlighting both strengths and concerns. Now, to tell us more, we're joined by Christian Jones. CJ, what are the key takeaways from this review?
Well, the Medical Society acknowledges some positives, particularly the strategic vision laid out in the mandate. They welcome the focus on preventative care, early intervention and financial transparency, all of which they say could help improve long-term healthcare outcomes on the island.
But they've also raised some significant concerns. What are the main issues?
Well, yeah, one of the biggest worries is the mandated 2% efficiency target. The Society warns this could lead to service reductions, particularly in secondary care, affecting both quality and accessibility. They're also concerned about a lack of detail in how the mandate will be implemented. There are no clear timelines, milestones or assigned responsibilities, which they say could undermine accountability.
I believe there's been criticism over consultation as well.
Yes, there has. The Society says there was limited input from both the public and medical professionals, including themselves. They believe this means important insights have been missed, potentially making the mandate less effective. They're also calling for a full workforce review, particularly in management, arguing that a leaner, more medically led structure could actually improve efficiency and decision-making.
Therefore, this begs the question, what changes are they calling for?
Well, they've put forward several recommendations, including clearer commitments on service volumes, a more detailed implementation plan, and better engagement with key stakeholders. They do also want urgent reforms to avoid cuts to elective surgeries, which they say could have serious consequences for patient care.
Well, that sounds like they're making a strong call for action. Therefore, what happens next?
Well, that remains to be seen. Manx Care and the government will likely respond. The Medical Society is urging them to take those concerns seriously. They argue that without changes, inefficiencies will continue, potentially damaging Manx Care's ability to actually deliver effective healthcare in the long term.
Thank you, Christian. Moving on. Should the island introduce a fixed penalty notice system to discourage the sale and supply of vaping products to those under the age of 18? It's one method being considered to more tightly enforce the Vaping Products Act 2024. Mark Smith is the head of the Office of Fair Trading. He told the House of Keys Select Committee on Tobacco and Nicotine Products he's found fixed penalty notices have been very effective in the past.
The main benefits, obviously, is it would reduce court burdens, reduce court time. It would allow interaction between the department to regulate, control and alter bad behaviours. So from that point of view, I do think it would be beneficial. And it would also rule out the possibility of long, lengthy investigations and possibly being duty-bound to take a prosecution for fundamentally a first offence, very small fine. So yes, it definitely has benefits. It's something that the committee may wish to consider for this particular scenario, because it does speed up enforcement and it allows matters to be dealt with quite quickly, very efficiently, and I found it very effective in the past. Very, very rarely have I ever got to the stage where a second fixed penalty was issued. And it's happened on occasion, but it's very rare. It's usually only exactly the type of premise you would really want to take quick action with, and it allows them to get a sort of staged progression towards the possibility of not being allowed to sell the products because they haven't managed to make corrective action to the steps taken against them. So I think it would definitely be something I would think would be worthy of consideration.
You're listening to Manx Radio. This is Update. Are big decisions about the island's future being made without a clear public mandate? Well, political commentator Alistair Ramsey thinks so. He believes major policies on health, tax and climate are being decided without voters having a real say. His solution? Electing the Chief Minister directly, giving the public more power over government is the direction. Not everyone's on board with the idea, but Mr. Ramsey told Manx Radio support for change is growing as we head towards the next general election.
I think there's a general lack of clarity and a lack of coherence, and also a disconnection with the public. The public really feel quite alienated from what's going on. They have no buy-in to what government's major policies are because they've never been asked to approve them. They don't discuss them at general elections. And I think it's the nature of our general elections, which are largely policy-free, that is the problem here. They don't provide any direction or mandate for the government that emerges afterwards.
Electing a chief minister would be a complete major shift in the island's political culture. How would you see that process working in practice?
I think I wasn't sure about public election of the chief minister, but I've now concluded, in my wisdom, that it's probably the best available means of connecting the public with national government and with actually giving the public a kind of choice of government, which they don't have at the moment. And that would give us a debate. You would have hopefully competing kind of policy visions for the future direction of the island. That would be the focus for a national debate, which we just don't really have in any meaningful way.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
A former Douglas councillor says he's enjoyed his time in council and will continue to support the city and promote the island. Frank Schwengel, who represented South Ward, had his councillor's membership automatically revoked yesterday during a local authority meeting. Douglas City Council says under legislation set by Tynwald, a councillor's membership is automatically revoked if they fail to attend 3 consecutive months of meetings. Mr. Schwengel spoke to Manx Radio from Manila in the Philippines.
We have a rule that if you miss a certain number of meetings, you are at risk or you cease to be a member. And obviously, I'm abroad a lot on business primarily. I'm doing this interview from Manila, for example. I'm back later this month. And nobody ever contacted me, neither the Liban nor other councillors nor committees, to tell me, hey, are you okay? Hey, you're missing meetings. Hey, you're at risk of getting kicked out. Instead, the exec meeting actually discussed that they have to, wrongly they discussed something that they would have to vote on if I'm getting kicked out. And then they voted on it, discussed it in council yesterday and voted on a separate point because they got the sales point wrong. But through this whole ordeal, nobody ever actually contacted me, and I still have not been contacted. So it is my belief that at this point in time, I had even kicked out for non-tenants, which is entirely my fault. I was aware on business a lot, and I put my livelihood first, and I apologize to the citizens of Rutgers for that. But I haven't actually been told. Nobody has really told me that I'm no longer a candidate. There's nothing that can be done. I think the rules in the Constitution are quite clear. And to be honest, I had to put my livelihood first. I enjoyed my time in the council. So I don't want to be there anymore. It was great, and I love the city, and I will continue to support the city and promote the island. But I think my council days are gone.
The chair of Michael District Commissioners, Duncan Livingston, has described a decision to introduce blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limits to residential areas in the Isle of Man as using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. The proposals have divided the public after the scheme was recently started in Port St Mary, and new signage is set to be installed in Douglas and Onchan later this month. Mr Livingston, driving instructor by trade and former police officer, says he supports the recent change in Port St Mary and agrees that 20-mile-an-hour limits past schools are appropriate at relevant times. However, he argues the wider proposals are draconian, unenforceable, unpopular, and not what the local populace want.
The village at the moment has the variable speed limit signs for the school, which work very well, and I think they're adhered to quite well.
So that's during certain times of the day, flashing lights, 20 miles per hour,
Absolutely,
slow down.
Yes,
Yeah.
for when the schools are kicking in and when the schools are kicking out.
As a driving instructor, Duncan, you mentioned some people in Kirkmichael would welcome some parts to be 20 mile per hour limits, some not. Where would you stand? Do you think a blend would be the right approach?
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, within Kirkmichael, there are areas which are 20 miles an hour. All the side roads are 20 mile an hour zones, and there's definitely a place for 20 mile an hour zones. Certainly my concern, and I've spoken to other driving instructors, the concern is it's going to have a knock-on effect of the standard of students because they're going to be driving around in second gear at 20 miles an hour. How is that preparing them for the Manx roads and for roads potentially across? We don't know if there's been discussions with the driving test examiners. Is it going to have a knock-on effect to how long the driving tests are going to take? Is it going to mean that the driving tests are not going to cover so much to allow the driving test examiners to get back? And then with my final hat on, I'm a retired police officer. I spent 19 years in the traffic department on the Isle of Man. I've dealt with many, many fatal accidents, serious accidents, and there are idiots about, and it's normally idiot driving who, yes, they do drive too quickly, but it's driving inappropriately for the conditions. And I don't think a blanket speed limit is the answer.
You've mentioned you think that it just would be unenforceable. Your experience tells you that, does it?
The only way it's enforceable is with speed cameras. And if you look at what happens if you drive across, again, I don't think that's what the Isle of Man people want. I think that speed limits should be evidence-based. I think they should produce figures showing why there's a need for these speed limits to be introduced. And certainly from the point going back to Kirk Michael, I think consultation with the local authorities. I know Michael District Commissioners haven't been consulted. I would be interested to know if other boards have.
And just finally then, what would you like to hear from the DOI now in response to this?
I think it's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. We've seen what happened in Wales. Mark Drakeford introduced a blanket ban across Wales, which they're now rolling back, which is costing the Welsh taxpayers plus £10 million to undo the speed limits. I would hate to see the same thing happen here when money is so tight on the island as it is.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, things are looking good today. Everything in and out of the airport is showing us on time, and the Manxman arrived into Douglas a short time ago.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at
Quayside.
Manx resident Michelle Moans criticising the UK COVID inquiry's decision to hold evidence relating to her company in private. It was previously reported that sessions on PPE MedPro would be held in private. Sean Cowper reports.
Baroness Michelle Moan shared a statement from her and husband Doug Barrowman on social media describing the move as a blatant betrayal of transparency and justice. It goes on to say the government knew exactly who we were and what we were doing. There was no secrecy, no deception and nothing improper. Yet, instead of holding themselves accountable for their monumental failures, these officials have chosen to scapegoat us to divert attention away from their own catastrophic incompetence. We've endured years of relentless persecution. We have spent enormous sums fighting a politically motivated witch hunt. The toll on our lives, our families and our reputations has been devastating. The National Crime Agency has been investigating the company since May 2021 concerning suspected criminal offences in relation to the procurement of PPE. Chair Baroness Heather Hallett says she's imposing the restriction as she's satisfied there is a risk of prejudice to criminal proceedings if sensitive evidence is heard in public.
You're listening to Manx Radio. This is Update. The Manx SPCA is calling on any pet owners who've previously owned shock collars to donate them to the charity for educational purposes. You won't be judged, says the charity. It just wants to raise awareness. Lewis Foster has this report.
The devices might be legal here, the Manx SPCA says, but electronic collars that send electric shocks into the necks of animals can cause pain and distress. By showcasing the items in an educational display, it's hoping to encourage responsible training choices and advocate for improved animal welfare standards. The MSPCA says it understands that many owners purchase these devices with the belief that they are an effective training tool, only to later seek more positive and humane alternatives. In 2023, the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture sought feedback from the public on whether the Isle of Man government should ban or regulate the use of different types of electronic collars for dogs and cats. A consultation was held at the time which garnered 687 valid responses. In answer to the question, do you think it should be an offence to attach to a cat or dog an e-collar that delivers an electric shock, the majority of respondents, 78.6%, said they did not think it should be an offence. Following up on those results, DEFA says there were a significant number of responses that appeared to be from outside of the Isle of Man's borders. The final word from the department was that it's aware there are significant concerns about the use of these devices in cats and dogs and will do further work to explore this area.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Local companies are being encouraged to consider signing up for the Business Olympics 2025. The event's being organised by students Ethan Reddy and Ben Davis from University College Isle of Man as part of their sports degree course and will take place in May. And it will be raising money for Lukey's Aid, a charity set up in memory of their friend Lucas Martin, who died in September 2023.
Originally, we were playing with him on a Sunday for soccer sixes, and then through that we found out that he used to play for Moran, and then he sadly passed away recently, and we thought that it would be quite fitting if we were to do something to in his memory, because he was quite an athletic and sporty person himself.
And we think it's really good what the charity are doing as well.
We originally thought that we would be doing more competitive sports such as the sprinting and stuff like that, but then over time we kind of thought that as businesses, people wouldn't want to turn up and do 100-metre sprints or stuff like that. So we thought maybe take more of a fun twist on it. So instead of shot put or your original javelin, we thought that we could use a foam javelin or bean bags to kind of impersonate the shot put, but not have the technique that you need.
Ben, when is the actual event?
So it's the 15th of May in the NSC.
It's 5:30 to 7:30.
You can have from 4 to 8 people in your team, and the entry is £5 per person. We didn't have to raise money for a charity, but we thought it might bring people together. And I think that we've all been quite inspired by the story about it and what they're doing and raising money for. So we just thought it's a good cause and people would want to get down to support it while also having fun.
Following on from what Ben said earlier, obviously since we play from around, it's more of a deeper connection to the charity. And obviously playing with him most Sundays or seeing him most Sundays, as well as his parents and family, we kind of got a deeper connection with the charity's meaning. And we thought that just to make it fitting, we thought that his charity would be the best to raise some good amount of money for him and his family. We got in touch with them, I think it was a couple of weeks back now. And ever since we reached out to them, they've been very quick to respond to us and very engaging and just really helping out to make sure that the event runs smoothly.
How much would you guys like to raise?
So we are hoping to raise £300, whether that be from the entries. We're going to have a raffle. We're going to have a tuck shop down there as well. And all that money will be going to the charity. You want to come down because it's going to be a great time. It doesn't matter what your ability is. If you've never done sport before, if you've done sport, that's why we've catered it to everyone. And it's just a good competitive time to have a bit of fun with your co-workers. So yeah, just think we should get down and have a good time while raising money for a good charity.
The Isle of Man's inaugural Biosphere photographers in residence are inviting people to step away from technology and immerse themselves in the island's wild landscapes. The residency is supported by the Manx Wildlife Trust in collaboration with Visit Isle of Man. Howard Kane caught up with Kira Hardesty and Adam Morgan to find out what inspires them in their work.
I guess it's my heritage. I've been born and raised on the Isle of Man, and I just think it's so beautiful, and I guess the Celtic-ness of it, and trying to bring that to the world. Instagram's been a way for me to kind of express myself in that way and show the world how beautiful the island is and other creators. So yeah, I guess it's just a way of just sharing that with the world.
Adam, I think it's showing that you're a part of the world as well. The island it's cut off from sea all around it, so it's it's a little bubble, and you want it to, I guess, everyone work together to keep it alive and not destroy it, I suppose. I see the photography side as just showing us as a part of what's out there rather than being separate and looking at it.
And I suppose again, working particularly in sort of video and mixing the art in as well, there's this element of, rather than just being sort of representative of the island, you can bring in a sort of very creative element, like in the artist in residence as well, bring in a sort of the creative element to the work as well, rather than just being purely representative of sort of what is actually out there.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we like to find the stories, old stories the island has, and bring that into the photography and video,
and showing it to the world. It's so special. We did a piece that was on the Glashan for Winterfest. That was the piece that we kind of brought to life, and it's nice retelling it in a slightly different way and to a new audience. I think we're quite lucky. Well, I feel fortunate that we're part of an era that is online and that we're able to share it not just locally but beyond the island, and hopefully attract more creators here.
We now turn our attention to sport, and at the sports desk, it's Rob Pritchard. Faster my.
Faster my Dave. Starting things off tonight, Special Olympics Isle of Man has claimed 2 medals, including gold at the 2025 World Winter Games in Turin today. As part of a 4-strong Manx team competing in the snowshoeing event, Dylan Butler took victory in the M02 final to win gold in one of the men's 200-metre races, while in the same final was his teammate Robert Molesworth, who finished 6th. Elsewhere, there was bronze for female athlete Kanyeba Lubiljani, who crossed the line 3rd in the F07 final in the women's 200-metre competitions. Also involved in the 200-metre finals was Rebecca Mailer, who only narrowly missed out on a medal in the F08 final as she came 4th. Well, all 4 competitors will be back in action tomorrow for the 100-metre races. They're expected to take place between 7:30am and 10:15am UK time. Elsewhere, Manx professional boxer Jade Burden has confirmed a date for her first fight in 2025. The undefeated Island Fighters announced she'll return to the ring at Grand Central Hall in Liverpool on Sunday, the 27th of April. Her opponent is yet to be confirmed. The contest will take place exactly a year on from the Grenades' pro debut in the sport at the same venue in 2024. In cycling, Ireland resident Ben Swift and Ineos Grenadiers were in the points again this afternoon on Stage 5 of the Paris-Nice on the Men's World Tour. Swift helped his team to a 9th place finish, which was secured by American rider Magnus Sheffield. A more challenging day, however, for Manxman Max Walker and the EF Education EasyPost team on the 196.5km route. The squad's highest finish through Owain Dool, who was in 34th position, and that was 1 minute and 39 seconds behind stage winner Lenny Martinez of Bahrain victorious. And in martial arts, Summit Grappling Academy once again claimed a host of medals in Manchester, 15 in total with 6 gold, 5 silver and 4 bronze.